Alright, the number 14 EL brake equipment arranged with a multiple unit operation of the H5B and the H5BR relay air valve. The equipment is the same as what it included with the DKR distributing valve, except for the installation of the HB5B and HB5 H5BR relay air valve in the equalizing pipe is shown in Figure 44 functionally with the H5B, H5BR cutoff valves. As they are commonly coupled, they are identical with the H5B, and however they are tap piped in connection with the H5BR with the flange fittings. The purpose of cutting a valve is to provide with a simple positive brake and two protections, and this does the closing connection between the brake cylinder pipe and the equalizing pipe. When the two units break apart, the main reserve pipe is open with the atmosphere main reserve air pressure on the diaphragm 10 of the cutoff valve reduces this rapidly. Spring 19 returns the valve of the 15 to its seat, closing the brake pipe cylinder from the equalizing pipe pressure, thus automatic brake application resulting from a brake and two will retain both the units. The check valve is shown in Figure 44. The permits and the unrestricted flow of the air from the main reserve supply system unit, one unit for the main reserve of the another on the when the compression of the latter is inoperable during a break into the choke and the control controls the rate of the loss of the air with the first main reserve. It also prevents the building up of the air with the cut off the diaphragm and increase the valve with the efficiency speed of operation. The number 14 EL arranged from the multiple unit operation with a H6B relay air valve unit. The equipment responding to the same controls performs the same function as multiple unit equipment with the 6DKR distributing valve, the H5B or the H5BR relay air valve. The H6B relay air valve unit is in conjunction with the 6AR distributing valve and consists of a pipe bracket which mounts two relay air portions known as the transfer valve and the cutoff valve. The third mounting the force face is covered with a blanking pad. The transfer valve has been spring arrangements provided with a 25 psi operating pressure above the diaphragm. The operating pressure of the cutoff valve is 50 psi. The transfer valve performs the transfer function between the lead and trailing operation incorporated with the previously traveled transfer valve portion of the 6DKR distributing valve. The cutoff valve closes the brake cylinder connection to the equalizing pipe when the break-in 2 occurs between the units. The brake pipe cutout controls the usual brake pipe connection with the brake valve. It also controls the main reserve pipe with the connection to the transfer valve, the diaphragm chamber. The lead unit, the brakes of the lead unit, which the brake pipe of the cutout sets the number one position, operates like those of the locomotive, having only one basic equipment. In this position, the brake pipe cut out of the convents of the atmospheric transfer pipe of the chamber D with the transfer valve with no pressure on the diaphragm 10 over the transfer valve, the valve 17 of the held off the seat, and the spring 6 with the connection of the brake pipe of the pressure 13. At the same time, the main air reserve pressure forces downward with the diaphragm 10 with the cutoff valve and unseating valve 15. This connects to the equalizing pressure of through passage 13, the brake cylinder pipe. The brake cylinder air pressure, therefore, is maintained with the equalizing pressure. For a trailing unit, the brake pipe of the trailing unit can be controlled from the cab of the lead unit. The placing automatic brake valve in the lap position the independent brake valve in the running position, and set the brake pipe cutout in the number 2 position. The automatic brake valve handled in place of the lap position closes the exhaust passage of the release pipe of the independent brake valve and the rotary valve of the automatic brake valve. The brake pipe cutout cock in the number 2 position connects to the main reserve equalizing pipe. The transfer of the pipe of the main reserve air pressure forces down on the diaphragm 10 for the transfer valve, seating of the valve 17, unseating valve 15. The application cylinder pipe is now connected with the passage 13 since the diaphragm of the cutoff valve is shown down. The equalizing pipe, the application cylinder pipe is connected with this is ensure the brake cylinder pressure of the trailing unit is identical to that of the leading unit because it places the equalizing air pressure in the chamber G of the application cylinder regardless of the position of the equalizing position of the slide valve. Number 2 position, the brake pipe cutout seals of the connection between the brake valve and the brake pipe. Thus, brake pipe pressure of the trailing unit is controlled entirely by the brake valve of the lead unit. The multiple unit in operation dynamic interlocking with the K14Q brake valve, the H6A relay air valve, and the 6IKR distributing valve. The equipment performs the multiple unit functions in the same manner as the previously described. In addition, the dynamic interlocking arrangement ensures the air brake application of the locomotive, except for one made with the independent brake valve, will be released and held off during the dynamic braking to provide with a feature of the K14 Q brake valve and the H6A relay air valve unit and the 6IKR distribution valve are used. Note that the dynamic interlocking feature can be arrangement of the single unit operation. This is done by removing the H6A relay air valve unit by substituting the 2-position brake pipe cutout cocks from the 3-position cock. The distributing valve is release pipe at the 2 distributing valve with the valve connections of pipe directly to the brake valve. The K14Q brake valve is the same as related to the K14 brake, although except for the atmospheric vent and the passage of the P of the independent brake valve, the vents produce an exhaust port through any air of the brake application except for one made with the independent brake valve is released on the locomotive during the dynamic braking. It should be noted that the vent is always flown and nullifies the holding and the features of the holding position gradually releases the locomotive brake and by automatic brake valve by manual manipulation. The H6A relay air valve of the unit is the same with the H6B described with the previous except for the blanketing plate and is replaced by the relay air valve portion identical with the transfer valve. This add portion is known as the dynamic braking. The 6IKR distributing valve is standard with 6AR distributing valve with the application cylinder covered with a filling piece and the motion of the FA14 magnet valve. With the FA14 magnet valve is double beaded with the valve arranged for the set of chambers is B and A connected with the magnetic coil and de-energized with the normal position was energized with the dynamic braking position. Chambers of B and C are connected. Operation of the equipment, the transfer valve and the cutoff valve of the H6A relay air valve operate in the same way as like the portion of the H6BA relay valve with the dynamic valve with the transfer valve with the control with the transfer pipe with the brake pipe cut out with later in the number 2 position the dynamic valve connection with the release pipe with the distributing valve with the passage 11 and 13 cutoff valve and pipe 12 and the equalizing pipe. On a lead or a dead unit, the dynamic brake is released in normal air brake operation the same as the basic equipment. The base because of the position of the H6A relay air valve with the unit, the FA14 magnet valve are such with the pipe connections between the brake valve and the distributing valve are functionally in the same. When dynamic brake application is made on the top of the automatic brake application, the magnetic valve becomes energized past H and HL chambers G and are connected with the chambers B and C, and a release the pipe from the release pipe connection is made through the relay air valve with the brake valve with the connection 4 from the other atmosphere through the passage B and the vent on the other side of the brake valve with the change of G of the connection to the exhaust of the air brake of the locomotive is released. As preceding covered, the operation with the choke with the standard of the equipment, the choke is the location with the passage connects to the passage for the chamber A and B, the magnetic valve to each other in the chamber G of the application cylinder. While the dynamic interlocking feature takes the automatic brake off, the application chamber air flows through this choke and along with the chamber G air exhausts through a magnet valve. And release pipe. The magnetic valve that de-energizes the locomotive brake will not reapply until the reduction of the brake pipe pressure is made again and placing it again. Air in the application chamber, the choke slowly pushes the application chamber into the small capacity magnetic valve chambers in chamber G. By eliminating pressure buildup, it eliminates the possibility air brake application for the dynamic brake is applied. A pipe plug optional on this equipment can be used with the place of the choke, and in such a case, air remains in the application chamber when the dynamic interlock feature takes the automatic brake off. When the magnetic valve becomes de-energized, also application chamber when air enters in chamber G with the automatic brake will apply. As mentioned before, the independent brake application can be made on the top of the dynamic brake application. The independent brake valve is moved with either slow or fast application position, reducing the air in the chamber F that is connected with both the application cylinder pipe and the release pipe. The two channels flow and provided with a faster buildup of application cylinder pressure and corresponding fast buildup of brake cylinder pressure on the trailing unit, equalizing pipe air with the brake cylinder pressure and flows for the H6A relay air valve to the unit application cylinder Viva application pipe and the release pipe. Lubrication.